Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for TWiT specials is provided by Cashfly at CACHEFLY.com.
Hey, Lamarr Wilson here at E3 2013, and I'm here with the directors of the great game The Last of Us. And we have Neil here, the creative director, and Bruce, which is, what kind of director are you? You are the game director, so he does everything with the game. So tell us about this game, first of all. This is for the PS3. It's a new game.
Yeah.
And what's the premise of it?
Well, the premise is two survivors, Joel and Ellie, are trying to make their way across this post-pandemic United States.
Okay.
Things hit the fan, this pandemic breaks out, and Joel reluctantly is kind of paired up based on a friend's dying wish with Ellie, and he's asked to take her across to this militia group called the Fireflies.
We won't get another shot at this. I want Joel to watch over her.
What on earth do the Fireflies want with you?
And was this inspired of any other type of apocalyptic
Neil, what do
type
you
of
think?
events?
Is it inspired by something?
Here we go. You don't want to hold it for me? All sorts of things. You know, one of the biggest things for us, we saw No Country for Old Men while we were working on Uncharted 2.
Awesome.
And just like the tone and the tension and the minimal use of dialogue and minimalist use of music was really inspiring to us, of like the kind of feeling it evoked. And we're like, no one has really captured that kind of feeling in a game, and we felt like we could do that. And the other thing that we really wanted to do from the get-go is we said, what if we did a whole game based on a relationship with these two characters? So when they first meet, they don't really like each other, but over the course of hours, many, many hours, slowly they're going to build this bond, this relationship, and by the end of it, they're willing to make like extreme sacrifice for one another. And we felt, we could really capture a father-daughter-like relationship through gameplay.
I think that's awesome. So in gameplay, how important is story nowadays with these type of games? I mean, obviously you want to have a game that's pretty long to satisfy the buyer, but how important is getting the story right and getting and making people feel like they're part of it?
I think it's everything. I mean, if you don't buy into their plight, into what's at stake, then you don't really care about what you're doing. But if you do buy into it, and then the gameplay has so much more meaning behind it, and then we can really take advantage of what our medium has, which is interactivity. So through actions, through the two of you relying on one another and helping each other, you're creating this bond. So like when Joel is cinched up by someone and slammed against the wall, Ellie's gonna pick up a brick, throw it at the guy, give you an opening just to breathe, and then you feel like, oh, I survived because of her. I've got to live another day because I relied on this kid.
Okay. So what makes these characters so likable? Is it the antagonistic part of them not really caring for each other in the beginning and then building up a friendship? Is that kind of what makes it makes them likable at the end, maybe?
Well, what's interesting is Joel is born before the pandemic, before everything hits the fan, everything collapses, systems, all the luxuries that we know every day are gone at this point. And Joel has seen a lot of loss, and he's seen families ripped apart, he's seen society collapse, so he has a very different perspective than Ellie, who was born after. It's 20 years after the pandemic hits is when this takes place, and Ellie's 14 years old. So she only knows a world that is kind of like, militias are existing and fighting military. Military are laying down a martial law upon a quarantine zone to try to keep the infection at bay. So she's seen people die that's a Wednesday for her. That's not a big deal. So you see these two people, it's like a black and white sort of contrast, and you bring those two characters together, and it adds interesting drama. Okay,
so in TV we have Revolution, we have The Walking Dead, and some of these other post-apocalyptic shows. Did you feel that this was a good time to release this game because we're all kind of in this mode of watching these shows where what happens 10 years later, 20 years later, after the lights go out or after a sickness comes through?
It really came down to the story we wanted to tell and the game we wanted to create. It was we felt like this world could really apply the pressures, like seeing what happens to humanity. We wanted to see the best and worst of humanity, and that's kind of one of the things we explore in this. And this world where everything's fallen apart really applies the pressure onto humans and forces them to make those interesting decisions. Like, are you going to kill somebody for their shoes, or are you going to try to barter, or are you? So these kinds of factions get created inside of this world, and that really dictated like the story, the characters, what we wanted to tell, dictated the world we wanted to create.
So let me ask about that. So you have a situation where, like you said, you have to decide to kill someone for the shoes. Does that change the course of the game, or is it pretty linear throughout the game? Can you like do one action and could do a completely different course? Is that kind of game?
It's the story. There's something very specific we're trying to say.
Okay.
So in that standpoint, you're going to experience a very specific story, a very specific arc with these two characters and what they're experiencing. But within the gameplay space, we really open things up. So when you see a group of guys in front of you and they're out there searching for you, you could try to engage them if you've scavenged enough weapons and you're able to craft items to fight them head on. Or if you could try to like sneak around them and take them out quietly, or you could try to sneak all the way around and just avoid combat altogether. And we really wanted to give the player those kind of options, but at the end of the day, it's a story of survival, and sometimes it's uncompromising. You have to do really horrible things to survive, and that's kind of the gray area we wanted to explore with these characters. Is they aren't necessarily good guys or bad guys in this world. They're just what they're trying to achieve is different, and only one person can survive in a situation.
Yeah, I really like those kind of games with that moral dilemma. It really makes you feel more immersed in it, I think, than anything. Instead of a game taking me where they want to go, I get to make some decisions, that makes me think about it afterwards. Well, I just killed somebody for, some shoes. It keeps me up at night.
And that's the thing, we put these two characters against each other so they can question each other, and they question kind of the decisions they have to make. They're really difficult decisions they're making.
So who are you marketing this to? Who's the target audience?
Anybody who likes good story and good games. I mean, really, that's really what it comes down to.
Okay.
It's not for kids.
Okay,
It's an M-rated
even though a kid
game.
is in there.
Even though a kid is in there,
okay.
It's an M-rated game. It gets pretty dark at times, but we felt at the end it's a very human story, and anyone that just is really into narrative, story, action experiences, they're gonna love this.
Okay.
game.
Is there is it a 20-hour game, or can it go infinite, or is it
It's the longest campaign Naughty Dog's made yet. I mean,
Nice.
the Uncharted series averages somewhere around 12 hours, and it's longer than that. So.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so that last question, how much more fulfilling is this than doing Uncharted? Like doing this kind of storyline with it?
It's just a different experience.
It's just different.
We wanted to explore just different themes, a different genre. We created what we call a survival action genre. We love Uncharted, but this is just something new that we get a chance to do, and we're happy.
So I actually lied. I have one more question. When will this be released? How can I buy this?
June 14th, this Friday.
Wow.
Let's do it.
Okay, make sure you all buy this game. The Last of Us, I'm going to get it, even though I don't have a PS3. I'm actually getting, no, seriously, I'm getting a PS3 from a friend. I love games like this, so I'll be checking this out. Make sure you all check this out. Thank you all so much for your time.
Yeah.
All right, and let's check out some more of E3.